Misfits, and welcome. Amanda here with another 5 tools that you can use in your TTRPGs. I've done a few of these videos and I always really enjoy them and just sharing the different things I use to help make running a game go a little smoother. So I've got 5 more for you here today. These are largely system agnostic, so if you don't play 5th edition, you should be able to use the majority of these still. There's one that might be a little 5e specific, but you know, we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, let's get into it. So, number 1 is 2 Minute Tabletop. This is a website that has extremely useful maps and tokens and resources that you can use in your games. The good thing about this website is the majority of the stuff here is free, but even if it's not gonna break the bank. It's gonna be really affordable and accessible to a large variety of people. So they have a bunch of different things here. They've got maps and assets. They've got written resources that have like adventures and encounters and monsters and things that you can use. They have a token editor, and then, you know, they kind of have like a big bundle that has everything in it. This might be the most useful for those of us that play virtually, though I'm pretty sure you can just print out the majority of this stuff so that you could use it if you play around a physical table. Speaking personally, the aspect of this website that I use the most is the token editor. They have a huge library of tokens for NPCs and monsters, and they have pretty much anything you can think of or imagine. And the good thing about this is you can actually go in and customize the colors for all of these different tokens. So if I decide that I want to have a drow gunslinger, I can look it up, I can find the one that I want, and then I can go through and I can literally change the color of almost every aspect of this token. And it's really useful, and it doesn't cost a single thing. So this is something that I really wish I had known about a little earlier. My group has been playing virtually since 2019. We were doing it before it was cool, and the thing that frustrated me a lot was missing out on having those personalized minis to use in games. So finding this website, finding this resource where I could create these tokens and find ones that actually match my players and their characters was a big deal. And I really have enjoyed using this tool. It's so quick and easy to use, and I use it all the time. So I highly recommend looking this over and trying to use this tool. It's just too good to pass up. Something that I did with my players is I just sent them a link to this website and just told them to find the token that they liked best, customize it, and then send it to me so I could put it into our game. So that's something that you could do for your table. Number 2, and this might seem like kind of a basic one, but it's a dice roller app. Now, I love my physical dice. I really do. I'm borderline obsessed with collecting very pretty shiny math rocks that I can use and roll. But there's something to be said about using a dice app for really 2 specific reasons. Number 1, if you're using an attack that would have you roll just a crazy number of dice, if you're using a dice app, it's a lot easier to just sort of check off how many dice you need, and it'll total it all up for you. Whereas it might take a lot of time to kind of pick out the exact number of dice, roll it, and then count out the total by hand. Something else that I really like using a dice app for is for my secret DM rolls that would happen sort of behind the screen. I can't tell you the number of times when I have rolled a physical dice sort of behind the screen and my players hear the dice hit the tray and they suddenly change how they're acting and behaving. They suddenly become suspicious and they really just can't help but metagame a little bit on some level. So by switching to a dice roller app for those secret rolls, I could have, you know, a secret monster or evil NPC rolling stealth checks and my party doesn't know and they just carry on as normal. That's been very, very useful to me. The specific dice app that I use is called Natural 20. I think the one that I use is called Natural 20 Lite because it's free, but it has pretty much everything you need. You can roll multiple dice, you can roll just one. You've got your D2 as well and the D100. And you can add a bunch of dice, roll them all at once, and it will total it all for you. I think it will even give you the average. I think if you get the paid version, you can customize dice. So you could sort of customize maybe types of weather and just randomly it'll select one for you when you're rolling that die. Or you could use that for random tables or things like that. So that could be really useful. I just use the free version though. Number 3, this might be a bit of a weird one, but it's Monument Studios, which is a company or group that creates music and ambient sounds that you could play for your game. Some of you might use Sirenscape, some of you might use the library of music that comes with Roll20 or whatever. And those are great tools, but I, being a musician, will want a little bit more variety in the music that I use, or I'll have high standards for the music that I like to play in game. And I also really want that royalty-free music that I don't have to worry about getting flagged when I'm posting a video. And I came across this company, or it might just be one guy, that creates this music, and it was really high quality. It's designed to loop in the background well and set the tone but not be overly distracting. And it's honestly a pretty good deal. It's not a subscription service that you have to continue to pay, though I think they do have a version of that. But you could just buy the package of music, and that's a one-time payment, and then you just have all that music, and you can choose out of the, hundreds of songs you get which ones you want to use in your game. Another good thing about Monument Studios is they often have some sort of really big sale going on. Like currently they kind of have 3 big packages of music. They've got Fantasy Complete, Fantasy Complete 2, and Fantasy Complete 3. But right now they have this bundle where you can get Fantasy Complete, Fantasy Complete 2, and then this extra package of occult spooky sounds, and that's all bundled together for $30. And that's gonna be hundreds of songs that you can use. But yeah, I've really enjoyed using this music. I was really, really happy with the Fantasy Complete 2 kind of bundle of songs. I thought the quality, though it was impressive in the first Fantasy Complete box, I thought it really stepped up a notch for Fantasy Complete 2. And I've heard snippets from Fantasy Complete 3 and I'm blown away, but that one's not on sale yet, so I'm gonna wait. Number 4, Patreon. Many of you probably know, but some of you might not. Patreon is a fabulous way of finding supplementary material for your games, finding beautiful maps, finding tokens that you could use, finding literal adventures that you could run. There are so many people on Patreon that have a passion for tabletop role-playing games. And a lot of these, put out amazing content, and it's not crazy expensive to support these creators and get access to this stuff. You could pay just a couple bucks a month and have a huge library of beautifully designed maps at your fingertips. So I highly recommend going on Patreon, looking around and finding some wonderful creators to support. Currently, I think I support Tom Kartos. I've used a lot of his maps. They're really, really good quality. He also will put out small adventures. He'll put out tokens and things like that. In the past, I've also used Party of Two. They have really, really pretty maps. The art is just really, really nice. And they will also, I remember Party of Two would also have these bundles of like asset packs. So you could create your own map and populate it with different little assets and stuff to really customize the sort of scene you're wanting to set for your table. So I highly recommend Patreon. There's just so much out there. So many people are creating, and it's just so nice to support like a real human being instead of like a big company. There's just something really meaningful to that. So definitely Patreon is my number 4 tool. All right, number 5 is going to be the Game Master sort of book series. I'm talking like these types of books. It's normally the Game Master's book of insert thing here. Game Master's Book of Encounters, Game Master's Book of Non-Playable Characters, Game Master's Book of Traps, Puzzles, and Dungeons. There are so many different like books in this series that this person has created, and these are really good tools for you to use. This is going to be like my 5e sort of specific tool for this list, because this is specifically for 5th edition, though there's probably a lot of stuff in here that you could kind of use for different things, like the non-player character table. If you're just looking for a basic background, name, just some identifiers for a random NPC, then that table or that book and the tables within it should be pretty applicable to any system. But some of the puzzles and dungeons, especially when it gets into like encounters within those dungeons, that's going to be more 5e centric. The good thing about those books is that they also include like one-shots or short adventures. You know, they've got maps, they've got all these different tables you can use, they've got ideas for how to sort of modify or adjust the different resources that they give you. It's really, really useful. And if not for using exactly what's in those books, for at least giving you the inspiration to create something on your own. All right, so that was another 5 tools for you to use at your table in your games. I really hope this was useful for you. These are all things that I really do personally enjoy and personally love using, and I use them pretty much every single game. So I hope that you find just as much use out of them as I have. Yeah, and if you would like to support me and this channel, please feel free to like and subscribe, but more importantly, leave me a comment down below. Tell me about the tools that you use. Tell me about, you know, if you've used any of these things on my list. Tell me about your experiences with them. Tell me about things that you avoid and you don't like using, or you tried and it didn't work out. I'd love to hear all of that stuff. Just talk to me down below. But with all of that said and done, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you again next time. My dog was snoring throughout this entire video, and the louder I spoke, the louder she started snoring. So I really, you know, I'm not recording this again. So I hope it's not super noticeable. I'm sure I'll pick it out when I'm editing this later, but just FYI, if I seemed mildly distracted, it's because I was hearing her snore. She's literally laying on the ground behind me. But I just could hear her snoring constantly throughout the entire video. Also, I have started playing Baldur's Gate 3, and it is amazing, and I absolutely love it. If you're curious about what I decided to go with for my first run through, I did, drum roll please, a Warlock Dark Urge playthrough for my first playthrough. I know most people don't start with the Dark Urge, but it was too tempting. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, but man, those Dark Urges, no joke. There's a pretty you know, you figure out that you got some dark stuff that you're dealing with, but there's like a moment in Act 1 where something kind of happens that you have no control over, and Woo! Wow, did they pull the rug out from underneath me. It shocked me for sure. I'm surprised that hadn't been spoiled to me yet, but it's been so fun to play. So that's exactly what I'm going to do once I am done editing this, is go over and play it. So if you guys are playing that game as well, tell me about what character and class you decided to go with. I'm very interested. Anyway, have a good day, guys.